Hey everyone, how are you? Great, great. Okay, so today I'm going to discuss very sensitive, maybe sometimes provocative, and for me personal, emotional topic. And this topic is 5 red flags in QA work when it's time to run. So how many QA here? Yeah, a lot actually. And maybe some people who manage QA. Yeah. So yeah, probably it will be useful for you. So first of all, let's start from myself. My name is Pshe. I have been working in different very well-known companies like Deutsche Bank, SEMrush, JetBrains, and I really, really love QA automation. It's my big passion, actually. And also, I have academy and agency. I teach people how to write auto tests, and also I help different companies and startups to build the automated quality system from the scratch. And also, I'm really big fan of QA. And also, last but not least, I must say I'm kind of QA blogger. I have quite big engagement in Instagram, Twitter, and also LinkedIn. And it's not only like about the thing that I'm famous or something, but it's more about every day when I wake up, I open my social media and I receive at least 10 messages from different QA who face very difficult topics in their lives. And I think it's kind of my mission to advocate this profession and to speak about our experience as a QA and to share it with you today. So our plan is to discuss different particular red flags. After that, I will share my personal stories from my experience, and also I will suggest some actions, how to deal with such situation, how to try to fix it, to prevent it sometimes. And let's start from the beginning. So 5 years ago, on the second year at university, I decided to start my career in QA. It was very occasionally. I just find a new open position in Deutsche Bank. And the first task was very familiar for me. It was a task about heap sort. But after they suggest to test calculator, and I thought like, interesting, why people test products? It was first time when I, in general, hear about testing. And actually, I was really excited about this profession. Like such a lot of different various tasks to do, like to test something, to write code, sometimes to discuss things with people. So from the beginning, it was really great experience. But after some times, or even often, and then more and more often, I felt like, first of all, I'm not good enough. Also, sometimes I felt very uncomfortable after different conversations inside the team. And finally, I felt like I have no value in the team. And I always was trying so hard, but people like managers are not, were never satisfied with results, and also like bugs happened again and again. And finally, it was very logical conclusions that probably QA is not for me. I don't know, have you ever felt something like this? Yeah. I know, yeah, I can feel your pain, I know. And like, as you can notice, it's quite big change from the first state when I was, from my first impression. And to be honest, I spent 5 years in IT, finally recognize that it's not about how bad this profession, it's more about where is my personal boundaries and what is my personal expectations. And I spent 5 years to say no to these 5 red flags. So let's start. So the first red flag is that developers are better than QA. So have you ever felt that you probably want to switch to a developer profession? Yeah. So I remember I was thinking about it a lot of times, like on the 2nd year in profession, on the 3rd year. And if I truly ask myself what was the initial reason, so the reason was in actually social pressure. I really love being QA, and yeah, I just heard too much that developers are better, and of course I also wanted to be better. And also some very interesting questions from my personal life. For example, one developer asked me, like, Alex, you are such a good woman. You're really cool, like you're smart enough. Why did you decide to be a QA? You are able to write code. So, like, it's obvious you should be a developer. And always I was so shy, like, I mean, I was trying to find some excuses, like, oh, I don't know, it was occasionally just I found this position opened and I don't know. And it was very awkward always to answer this question. Or like, oh my God, Alex, you have so probably low salary. I'm so sorry for you. And yeah, maybe it's true for some companies that in general, for some reason, QA can earn less money than developers. But I don't know, I don't want to feel undervalued because of it. And also, I think I can find some positions with the same level of salaries. And yeah, it's actually possible. And it's very awkward statement by default that developers are always like more wealthy than QAs. Or, yeah, it's my favorite one. Don't you want an intellectual job instead of this monkey testing? And first of all, it's very rude to say that someone's job is monkey testing, because people who maybe know who knows a little bit more about QA work, they can understand that we also do really complicated things. And yeah, so it's, of course, it's all these statements really can influence on your personal opinion about your profession. And yeah, also sometimes, or I would say a lot of times, I felt like I have to prove my opinion and I have to fight for my opinion. And by default, a developer's opinion is more important than mine for some reason. And I have like a real story. When I first time participate at conference, it was open panel discussion. And it was discussion with very experienced QA. She probably has been working in IT for 20 years. And she said, like, no one cares about QA. You have to prove why you deserve to be heard. And I was so shocked. Of course, I'm quite beginner in IT and all this stuff. But still, I thought like I already passed the interview and I proved my expertise and I have the right to share my opinion. So like, why should I prove it each time? Why should I deserve this authority each time? And yeah, I think actually time has changed. And right now, QA is a great profession. QA is important in the team. And QA has the same influence on the result as the developers. And how we can deal with it? Based on my experience, first of all, we should educate the team on why QA work is valuable. And we can do it in different ways. For example, we can explain our main purpose of QA work. But sometimes it doesn't help. Okay, in this case, if you don't care about quality, we can show how the quality can affect business metrics and product results. And also, it can sound a little bit too much, but also based on my experience, the best way how to convince developers to pay attention to quality is to scare them by terrible stories about catastrophic bugs which happened in different companies. And I think also you notice that developers, they pay more attention to quality after something happened in their personal code. And yeah, the second red flag is your work as a QA is how many something you did. So, for example, how many bugs have you found, or how many issues have you created, or how many automated tests have you implemented? And the point is that I'm definitely not against the metrics. It's a really good thing to measure your progress, but the truth is that metrics are easily abused, and that's why it cannot be the only one way to evaluate QA work. So also the story from my life, for example, there was the situation with also my colleague. He tried to find as many bugs as possible to achieve some metrics which our manager set up, and problem was that he created a lot of different bugs, but the functionality wasn't implemented yet. So it was in requirements, but we don't have any implementation. That's why it didn't work. And technically, we achieved the metric, but it doesn't make any sense. Or in our story, when also QA engineers tried to create as many automated tests as possible, and in the worst case, it's on the system level. And finally, as you probably know, sometimes we are joining the projects, and we can see this huge regression that are flaky, unstable, and it's quite actually expensive to maintain. So the only one, the best solution, what we can do is to build this autotest from the scratch again. And yeah, technically we achieved the metric, but it's flaky and it costs a lot of money. So it doesn't make any sense. And yeah, so the main point is that QA work, it's not the metrics, and the main outcome of QA work, what do you think, what is the main outcome of QA work? Number of bugs on production. Yeah, I mean, it can be a part of, yes. But the main outcome in general is the quality impact. So, and after that, it's the product impact. So if we achieve the product metrics or not. Yeah. So which actions we can do here? First of all, we can discuss with the manager, because these metrics usually set up by manager. What is quality assurance in general, and how we can evaluate the level of quality in the product, and how we can evaluate the outcome of QA work. And yeah, so to proceed with the next red flag. Yeah, I think actually I'm mostly irritated by this red flag, because I faced it so much time in my life. I don't know if you are familiar with such a term like code centricity. Yes, you know what does it mean? No? So actually it's the situation when people by default evaluate any outcome of of any IT specialist as a code. So, for example, if you write code, if you have a result of your work and it's code, so in this case, you are profitable for the company, you are profitable for the team, we like you, you are cool, so yeah. And if you don't have any result of your work in some like code, so in this case, yeah, you kind of, no one understands what you do, why you're available in this company and all this stuff. So yeah, it's actually concentration on the code. And yeah, QA, actually, we have a lot of problems with this red flag, because sometimes we write code, sometimes not. But yeah, in case sometimes we can be asked this question. So did you choose QA because it's the easiest way to start in IT, and also because if you're QA manual, you don't write any code, so we know, in this case, monkey testing, and yeah, the easiest way to switch your career to IT. So again, that's rude, and that's not true actually. Or if you're QA automation and you write code, and it's already like cool thing, but this code, so if you're QA manual and you don't write code, what is the result of your work? So how we can evaluate it? And also it's very popular topic about glue work, because sometimes a QA engineer is the main person who can set up different processes, who can discuss some things with different people in the team, and who can drive this process to make this feature finally implemented. And yeah, in this case, we cannot evaluate result at all, because like we don't have code. We have only communication, and that's all. And yeah, in case if you write code, you write auto tests, it's a good thing. But and our argument is that it's not even a part of the product code. And yeah, I also have a story here. When I worked in bank for half of year, I was a developer, and I implemented different features. So as a developer, my work looked like this. Business, for example, business provide me some feature requirement, and it was actually real pseudocode. So like write code, and this code has this algorithm. And what should I do as a developer? I should repeat this code, but in real code. So, I mean, this example can show that the developer work can be also not so like interesting or not so complicated, and actually the complexity of the work doesn't depend on profession. It's more depends on company, type of tasks, and all this stuff. So, yeah, just we cannot generalize any like common approach here and provide some our personal evaluation. So also another interesting thing is that sometimes we evaluate people only by code. For example, if you're even developer, you can write perfect code, like absolutely clean code according all these possible best practices, also patterns and all this stuff. But when we ask you, did you finish the task? You can say like, yeah, you know, I wrote perfect code, but for another task or for another requirements or not for all requirements. And in this case, like it's kind of, we have code, but it doesn't affect business at all. So also just yet another argument in terms of evaluation, but on the code. And yeah, so we actually we're not trying to be centric around some code. We actually work for money, for business, and it's usually our main goal. So yeah, the code is not the result. And Also, we don't have any hierarchical structure here, so we cannot say like production code is the main part, and after that we have test code, and after that we have some design, and after that we have some analytical artifacts. It doesn't work like this. We don't have any hierarchical structure here. We have work as a team, and we have money as a result, and we help business to achieve this product metrics. That's all. And what we can do here, I think actually only one possible solution is build equal and respectful culture in the team. Yeah, but it's of course not so easy task. Yeah, the next red flag is that QA is the only one person who is responsible for the quality. I don't know, have you ever faced such situation? Yeah. I don't know what to say here. I feel a lot of aggression. Yeah, so, okay. For example, it's mistake during feature requirements finalization. And what do you think? We have this mistake. Who is the fault is? Of course, the fault QA. Or we have in our problem user found the bug, so also the fault is QA. Or the functionality is missing, which is actually more related to developer part, but anyway, QA is one responsible person for this problem. And yeah, the personal story here is that, yeah, it turned out that to be QA is really a very stressful job. Because if you are quite responsible by default as your like personal quality, so you feel like again something happens, you try to solve all possible issues. You find, for example, you find some lag or bottlenecks in different processes. You suggest new processes. You try to keep control in all possible topics, but finally, sometimes, always something happens. Requirements, implementation processes, and it leads to burnout. Like in general, very aggressive feelings towards your job, towards yourself, and yeah, it's quite depressive actually. And what I would like to say here, if you have ever felt like this, it's definitely not your fault. Of course, we are, as human beings, we can make some mistakes. It's absolutely normal. And the best thing we can do is to analyze how we can do it next time better, rationally, and that's all. And also the thing that I always trying to say to people who write me all these endless messages about difficult situations at work is that if we were like people who never make any mistakes, our work would be really priceless. But actually we have normal salaries, and that's why it's the risk which are already considered as a part of our job. So yeah, my big hugs here. Yeah, so the truth is that the whole team is responsible for quality. And yeah, what we can do, of course, involve each team member in the quality. And it's also, it sounds very easy, but it's a very difficult task, especially if you have very, like, people in the team who think or who have very old-fashioned mindset, where like developers are really higher than QA. And yeah, we can explain why QA cannot be responsible for the whole quality, at least physically, because we don't have so much time. And sometimes also because we don't have some expertise. And also we can teach the basic of the shift left approach and in different, how we can influence on quality, but still how we can spread this responsibility between the whole team. And also the main thing is elaborate the outcome of working as a team, because even this like non-toxic atmosphere can influence on the outcome. Yeah, so the last but not the least problem is that managers has no clue about QA and about quality assurance. I mean, in general, not only about profession. So why it's a big problem? Because in this case, how can you as a QA be appropriately evaluated if your manager has no clue about your work? Or how can you as a QA feel valued, again, if your manager doesn't understand your professional value? So, of course, in this case, he doesn't understand how to, or she, how to evaluate your work. And how can the manager understand your responsibilities in this case? And of course, based on responsibilities, after that, set up expectations and do normal people management. So my personal stories here, unfortunately, I had a lot of different type of managers in my life. And also I faced with the managers who didn't understand at all what does it mean to provide some quality assurance in the team. And he always asked me, like, why do we still have bugs? So for him, like the situation when we have bugs, just by default also like mean that we do our work really bad. Or where is the result of your work? Like, you don't have any code, how can I evaluate you? Or how can I measure your progress? For example, by number of bugs. And for example, one day you find bugs, another day you don't find bugs. So how it works? So finally, it turns out that your manager never satisfied with your job. So it also affects your state. And yeah, what we can do here, and I think it's quite important, we must require managers to learn the topic. So what does it mean to be QA? And rely on QA expertise. So it was a great example in my life. Once I had a manager who really didn't know about QA, like anything at all, but he was aware about it, and he asked me, like, Alex, can you help me? Can you explain me how it works? And it was great collaboration between me and him. Or if you don't have any other options, you can always become this manager. So why not? Yeah, and so do we have more flags? Yeah, of course, we have more flags, unfortunately, but I think the most important part is to ask yourself honestly, is it ok for you or not, as I asked myself a while ago. And yeah, in case if you understand that no, it's not okay for you, so first of all, you can try to do some actions. And if it doesn't help at all, so yeah, just quit. Yeah, and why quit? Sometimes people really postpone this process as far as they can because of some fears, because of maybe lack of self-confidence as a QA engineer, and we can understand why based on all these previous red flags. But actually, there are some companies that value QA, where they exist, and it's the good news, actually. So you can always find the best place for you. And also, it's important to remember that the third part of our life is work, actually. And if you feel under-evaluated and if you feel undervalued at your work, so it means third part of your life, you feel really bad. And it's not okay for your personal mental health, first of all. So yeah, what I suggest is choose yourself always, everywhere. Of course, companies always try to convince us that we should work for them, but first of all, work for yourself. Yeah, and yeah, actually, that's all what I wanted to say. If you have any questions, yeah, you can ask. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Alex, for presentation. Yeah, we have some questions.
Thank you so much for bringing this super important topic. That was really great. I have two questions. First question is when people who work, or how people who work with QA can show appreciation, like what a developer can do, what a manager can do to show that they really appreciate their QA people. And second question for when we are looking for companies who actually value QA, what we can do during the interview to understand if the company values QA.
Yeah, it's a good question. For first question, I think I have great story also. Yeah, once when I joined one team, it was a developer. He always replied me very slow, extremely slow, and I was a little bit irritated by that. And finally, I decided to set up a call with him. And when we had a call, I just noticed that he was totally so in the late stage of burnout, and he was so depressive. So what I started to do is to every time when he answered me, I just said thank you so much for your fix. I know how it's difficult to do it. I really appreciate your work. And I was so shocked. He started to answer me so fast. I mean, his performance really increased immediately, and I was like, okay, it works so easy. Just say thank you. Okay, so I think we can start from say thank you first of all. We can also, if we don't understand what QA does, we can ask can you explain why it's important for us, or what are you doing usually, and also educate yourself, because, for example, for developers, it's very valuable skill to know how to test your product for developers. So it's also knowledge that are profitable for them also. So yeah, I would say start from yourself, because the main thing is that we can personally influence on the atmosphere in the team. We shouldn't wait until the manager or the top management or the company founder will create some culture. We can start from ourselves right now. So I think it's the most important topic. And as for companies, good question. Yeah. I think there is some practical ways to do it. For example, we have a Telegram chat QA bad companies, and we can always Google the bad reviews. Yeah, but also I think it's important to have a discussion at least with one QA, real QA from the team, and ask directly questions like how you feel, how do you think, is it quality important for your team or not, for the product? Yes, so something like this. Yeah, but you never know. You can try to prevent all possible worst scenarios, but finally, yeah, unfortunately, to find the wrong team. Yes, I think in this case, this movement to quit is the most longest way, because we always waiting until something changed, and it never changed. So, yeah, it's difficult to make this step always. Yeah.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay, then I will ask my.
Yeah.
During your presentation, you mentioned that to fix one of the problem, you can explain the team, explain the manager, what the purpose of QA.
Yeah.
Could you kind of quickly summarize for us what is the purpose of QA?
What is the purpose of QA? Okay. First of all, not every company needs QA. It's the first point, because sometimes people say quality is necessary for all possible products. No, it's not true. There is some stage when it's not necessary. So, but if, for example, we have some business goal, for example, we are Instagram and we have TikTok, and our business goal is Instagram compete with TikTok. So we should think about quality a lot, because if for some reason Reels will be unavailable even for 1 hour, it means we already lose this game. So yeah, just explain in very simple examples, like, see, if we have this, it leads to this, and after that, we lose all our money as a company. Bad, right? So we should prevent it. Yeah, that's all.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, if there are no questions, I think we can wrap it up. Thank you so much for your presentation, and thanks everyone.
Thank you.